Okay, we're back. Now what we're going to do is we're going to kind of pick up where we left off at, but now we're going to be dealing with it from more a religious perspective. So we're going to deal with the miseducated Negro Muslims first. And we're going to take a look at the shallow perspective in which they have of the Quran, because they're not actually coming from the Quran, they're coming from Europeanized Arab literature, and they don't really catch what the Quran says. Like, you never hear any of the brothers and sisters speak on two of the most important ayats in the Quran. That is the making of the original black man and the soul of the Creator being placed into that black man. I never heard any of my brothers speak about that. They constantly speak about the prophet being the greatest prophet. And that's nowhere in the Quran where it says the Prophet Muhammad was the greatest prophet of all prophets. It's tradition. And they're following suit behind these people, you know what I'm saying, trying to highlight the messenger instead of the message, because they've already put it in people's mind that the messenger was like them or of them. And that's where our Negro brothers go. So we're going to kind of just touch on that subject. You know, why do you think they don't deal with those two ayats where in the Quran it says that Allah created the original man out of black mud, black dirt, and that the Creator placed the Creator's soul in that black human being that He created from that black dirt? Why do you think they never go down?
I think one of the main reasons is that the scripture is used as an empowering tool to empower people, to inspire people. When we're talking about European Arabs, they use the scripture for their benefit, for their empowerment.
Right.
I think what our problem is, and I think it stems from, to a large degree, from not having a cultural foundation.
Right.
And as a result of not having a cultural foundation and being still psychological scarred and traumatized,
right,
then and dehumanized, because that was the main thing, is to continue to reinforce dehumanization. You know, it's a ayat in the Quran, I think it's 95:4, where it says, we created man in the best. It say, Sonny,
right,
the best.
yeah,
Top queen, the best of mold. Then it says, Thuma radad nahu asfala safilin.
yeah,
So it talks about the highest level of conscious awareness that the insane was created on.
right,
And that he could also be caused through a process of reduction, of being reduced, and I look at it as the dehumanizing process, to be reduced to the lowest, same word in the superlative,
right,
as fela safilin,
yeah,
being reduced to the lowest of the low.
yeah,
And I think that's part of the process that we went through, and we're struggling with that today and trying to recover from that. Point being, when you don't have a culture and when you've been dehumanized for so long, you look for anything to grab a hold on that don't identify with you.
right.
So the brothers, what they actually do, and the thing that, you know, the damaging part to this is the scripture is clear on who you are, your relationship to the Creator, and the Creator's relationship to you, and the connection.
Right.
But what our people do is we search for outside sources.
Right.
So we step outside of who we actually are to seek validation and acceptance.
Yeah.
When the Quran itself is the validation.
Yeah.
And as a result, what we end up doing is mimicking and following in the footsteps of other people who understand the power behind that scripture and how it empowers them.
Right.
The same way it empowers them is not the same way it empowers us.
Of course.
Because those ayahs that you're talking about is actually in reference to us.
Right.
As black people, as African people,
Right.
as an African spirit.
Right.
That's exactly what those verses are in reference to. So it's no knock against non-Africans or European Arabs or whatever, because they understand they need to use the scripture as a, like I said, as an empowering tool. The problem is our people don't understand that we supposed to use it and look at it and understand it through our own lenses, through our own cultural and experiences.
Right.
And that's the problem.
Yeah, I agree.
And you can see it in the overall condition of African American masjids, Muslim masjids. You see it.
Yeah.
Struggling. Wherever you go, it's a masjid struggling outside of the nation. You see other masjids, black man, local masjids, struggling for an identity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you go to those other people,
Right.
you know, the immigrants or the, you know, the Euro Arabs or whatever you want to, however you want to identify them,
Right.
and they got the big lush, you know, big magnificent looking masjids,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what our people desire. They, you know, that's what they run and gravitate towards.
Right.
It's like running from, you know, South Dallas to far North Dallas.
Right.
When that opportunity was available to us.
Yeah.
So, you know, rather than, you know, repairing what we already got and placing value and putting value back into what we already got,
Yeah.
we run from that. So that's just, once again, it goes back to the psychological effects and the trauma of slavery.
Right. So we still got them trying to get in the house.
They're trying to get in the big house. Still trying, like Brother Naeem Akbar says, still trying to be accepted. Even though we know something is wrong, once we get to that point,
Yeah.
you know, it says the epitome of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, looking for a different result. So
Yeah.
there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I think the brother, may peace and blessing be upon the brother, Layla Africa, he really did an excellent job in explaining those people. And a lot of our brothers and sisters don't take heed to that type of information. The Quran explains that same behavior. Our brothers don't see it because they follow, you know, they follow the traditions. That's it. So they don't see the people for what they are because they caught up in the tradition. They think, you know, simply saying Assalamu alaikum or Radi Allahu alayhi, or, you know, these little phrases that they learned, you know, and saying Muslim, you know, puts them in the same category with those people. You know, that's their way of being accepted by those people. You know, mimicking those little phrases, you know, holding the Quran up high, you know. But, you know, to me, it's just it's a sad sight. You know, it's a sad sight to me.
You know what ended up happening with that whole situation, mimicking and patterning yourself behind somebody other than yourself. You disconnect yourself
Yes.
from who you really are.
Yeah, definitely.
This scripture, the most important thing about this scripture is its relationship and connection with the black, African American, melanated African group of people,
Yeah,
from a physical,
yeah,
from a spiritual, and from a divine perspective. That's the most powerful and the most significant part of this scripture. Anything else is just illustrations, examples, parables, metaphors,
that's how it is.
analogies.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying? To give you an understanding and to reach you on whatever level of comprehension you may be on.
Right.
And it will elevate and evolve you to a higher state of consciousness.
That's good.
Our problem is we don't see the connection. We don't understand the connection.
No, we don't.
That it connects with us. And as it connects with us, it gives us a clear understanding of opposition. Opposition of forces, opposition of behaviors, thought processes
Yeah.
of another group of people. And the bad thing about it is certain words in the Quran is right and exact. You can't translate them no other way. When they say nas, when they say insane, when they say ins, when they say nisa, it's talking about a specific group of people.
Right.
When they say jinn, when they say Jan, J-A-N-N,
Yeah.
when they say Janati with the what we call the Tama Buddha on the end of the word,
Yeah.
the tag, it's talking about a specific group of people. But a lot of times our brothers translate, they don't even translate, they just go by what people say.
Right.
What those people say.
Right.
Their narrative.
Right.
So they end up calling everybody mankind.
Yeah.
And I beg to differ. I don't consider myself as mankind. I consider myself, based on science and historical documentation, as the original
Right.
human being on this planet, melanated individual on this planet.
Right.
You know, so when you go to something like a Surah 114,
Yeah.
which is, it don't get no clearer than that. It say whispers into the soul, the minds
Yeah.
of Nas and Jinn.
Yeah.
So we're talking about humanity from an African perspective.
Right.
And when they say Janati, that's a collective noun.
Yeah.
Talking about a specific group of people that you can relate to as mankind. But
Right.
we're talking about Europeans or Euro-Asians, however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
Because one thing for sure, what was the astronaut name? I know his last name was Armstrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
When he made the quote, he said, "One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind." So he was clear and he was
Yeah.
deliberate in that quote that he made,
Yeah.
that statement he made. So, you know, it ain't nothing floating around nowhere,
Right.
you know, out here somewhere. And then, you know, our concept of angels
Yeah.
is from a European perspective.
That's
And
right.
brothers don't understand that. You know, the angel
Right.
said this or said
Yeah.
that, but they don't even understand that, you know, what we're talking about is a power of force.
Right.
You know, that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we're talking about.
Yeah.
We ain't talking about something flying around with
Yeah.
wings or, you know, interfering with what you doing in your
Yeah.
life and all that, man. All that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't have to be so throwed off, but I'm gonna,
Yeah.
you know, I'm gonna leave it right there.
Now, they still have the television mentality, as we say all the time. See, when the Quran be discussing, you know, relating something to us, they take it in this picture like a TV show. Like when it says Allah gathered the angels together. You know what I'm saying? So they thinking, you know, that somewhere, so they already committed shirk because they have to form this in their mind to say, Allah said this to the angels and Iblis said this.
Yeah.
So they already have to form something in their mind, a gathering, and then somebody, you know, giving out orders and somebody rebuking it, you know, so they already committed shirk because of the manner in which they see that.
No doubt.
Yeah, but That just
But that's
goes
through the
to show
lenses
you,
of somebody
right.
else.
That just goes to show you how entrenched they are in other people's perspectives. That just shows you how deep they are. You know, how influenced they are by other people. Now, those same stories that's being related in the Quran, our ancestors drew them and they drew them and they gave the spiritual meaning to them. But our brothers and sisters won't go back home. We won't go back to our ancestors and get the knowledge of our ancestors, because every story, every sign, I don't want to say story, every ayat, every sign, every surah, every picture was written by our ancestors before the book was compiled.
Most definitely.
When the Quran talks about the Kitab, it's pointing to our ancestors. It's not pointing up in heaven, up in the sky, what they call heaven in the sky somewhere. Yeah, but that's what our brothers miss, following behind those people.
And they don't see it for what it actually is.
No.
It's a reminder. What
That's
it does is jumpstart your memory, your mind.
Yeah.
You know, and it takes you, it gives you certain scenarios in history, certain historical events to try to tie you in or reconnect you to those individuals, you know, regardless of what time period it was in.
Yeah. And by not understanding the language, they cannot catch the manipulations in the translations.
Most definitely.
Like in certain ayats, when it talks about the children of Israel, like in Surah 2 and 2, when it's talking about the children of Israel, the book is the story is in reference to the children of Israel. It's not in reference to the Quran when it says Dalikat, you know, Dalikat Kitabu. It says that scripture. It wasn't talking about the Quran, but they say this to make you think it's talking about the Quran. But it's not. You know, it's like,
because we did it with a time before that.
Before that, way before.
You know, before the expression came to those people in Arabia.
Right.
So it couldn't have been talking about that. It's before then.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. The language is very specific. It has the demonstratives for meaning that is at a distance, something at a distance, either in time or place, or something that is near in time or place. And it uses the demonstrative for something distant in time or place. So we know it wasn't talking about the Quran. But even in other manners in which they translate, where they'll throw a transliteration and not translate, to create this nationalistic perspective. Like when they translate, no other religion will be accepted except Islam.
Yeah.
And people don't catch that they translated out of the words except one word. They transliterated the word Islam. They didn't translate that. And that is manipulative. And our brothers don't catch, they don't catch little bitty things that the people do, those people do, you know, due to their not understanding. I'm not going to say ignorance, but that's what I want to say. The ignorance of the language, you know, ignoring, you know, learning the language for themselves. So they're easily fooled they're easily misled. You know, I mean, we can go on and on and on about manipulated translations in the Quran that gives you a whole different understanding of what the book is actually saying. Just take that into concept. If brothers just took that into concept, if they translated that, you know, no other way of life, or they say religion, would be accepted other than a state or a condition of peace, then it wouldn't create that division in people or in different schools of thought of people. You know, that would be acceptable. That would be acceptable to everybody. Hey, yeah, you know, we all should be, you know, in a state or condition of peace. But we can never be in peace when it comes to other people anyway. Because in order to have peace, you have to have justice. You have to have equality. It takes things to make peace.
Okay.
And they're not willing to give justice or equality. So we'll never have peace with other people. If they begin to be just and share, that means they have to give up what they've taken. They have to give it back. So I don't ever see, well, you know, we'll have peace with other people. We can only have peace among ourselves.
Well, the thing about that is, you know, it's to a certain period of time. And if we just look at our history, our illustrious history on this planet, up until that was interrupted by a group of people, if you want to call them that, up until today,
Yeah.
we see the climb, we see how it leveled off, and we see the decline of their power, their authority, and their domination. And we begin to see the desperateness
Yeah.
in our days and times now. And we
Right.
begin to see the energy level heighten,
Right.
the divine energy level heighten that's all around us and it's global.
Right.
We got a good glimpse of that during the George Floyd situation.
Yeah.
How it went global. And it's sustaining itself to a certain degree as long as we continue to don't go back
Right.
and continue to push forward
Right.
and push back on a
Right.
bunch of desperation or desperative moves that they're actually making.
Yeah.
Not only in this country but around the globe.
Right.
And then you begin to see a bunch of where they're beginning to give in
Yeah.
on certain things. Just say, for instance, a bunch of artifacts and a bunch of artwork or whatever that they've taken from the motherland, that they're beginning to make arrangements to return that to its rightful owners.
Yeah.
So we can visibly see the decline is near
Yeah.
with this whole system that's in place right now, that's in opposition to nature, and that includes people,
Yeah.
the natural people, the original people that's here on this planet. But I said that to say this here. One of the things we're going to have to grapple with and start to get an understanding of is that the scripture is clear on who is who.
Yeah.
And it's also clear on the fact that it's an ayat somewhere that mentions a group of people, they call them the Muqlasim.
Right.
It say, I think it's 15 and 48. It said, this group of people you will have no authority over.
Right.
But if you actually understand the word and take it back to its origins, it's actually dealing with to be purified,
Right.
to be unified,
Yeah.
to be organized along those lines right there.
Right.
And it's the same word structured in another form as in Surah 112.
Yeah. Yeah.
what they, you know, kind of like give that a weak translation.
Yeah.
But it's talking about the unified, it's talking about the purified
Right.
group of people. Now the purification comes in with what we've been through and continuing to go through.
Right. Right.
He said, don't you think you'll be left alone without being tested?
That's
Well,
right.
these people are our test.
Yeah.
You know, some of us, they broke us down to the lowest denominator. A lot of us pushed back on it, and we
Right.
continue to push back and transmit useful,
Yeah.
powerful information spiritually on to the next generations to where we're at right now today.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like the little respite, the little probationary period is about up with these people. And it's, the divine is gradually rising, evolving, and shining through the people, whether they're aware of it or not.
Right.
You know, you don't just go from, you know, hanging out in the church house to all of a sudden you spiritual now. Well, I'm spiritual. And that's what a lot of our youngsters are saying today now.
Yeah.
I'm spiritual now.
Yeah.
See, that ain't just happenstance.
Yeah.
It's something led up to
Yeah.
you coming to that understanding or that conscious awareness of yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of our young brothers are getting to realize the illusion.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, so with that, we're gonna have to close this one out. And we want to invite everybody back to the next episode. We're gonna have to redo that one on who and what guides you. So our next episode will be a remake of who and what guides you. So we thank everybody for listening, watching, and you'll be able to make comments. The comment section will be open. So with that, we're going to close out. Anything you want to close with? We got about 40 seconds here.
I think one of the things that the future, our future generations have to do, who put their faith, their trust, and believe in the scripture, the Quran, to first and foremost, you have to be able to seek an identification. You have to identify yourself in that scripture. You have to understand that that scripture not only talks about you,
Right.
but it also talks to you.
Right.
It's also a spiritual and a divine connection
Yeah.
and relationship. And it's an ayat in the Quran, I think it's 2 and 186, where it say, I hear the supplicants when they supplicate to me,
Yeah.
but likewise hear my call that you might be guided aright.
Right.
And so when we talk along the lines of our ancestral connection and getting guidance and wisdom from the ancestors, that's a perfect example right there with that ayat right there. So I encourage my brothers and sisters to seek an understanding of this scripture for themselves when it comes to the divineness and the spiritual aspects of it.